as Hindus, sometimes we find ourselves getting into arguments. My deity is supreme, your deity is not. And to properly understand what is the meaning of this, we are going to have to go right at the heart of Hinduism and understand what is in the Vedas. These beautiful messages connect the Hanuman Chalisa not just to the Bhagavad Gita, but to the entire system of Vedic thought that is our inheritance as Hindus. One of the most persistent questions that all Hindus have to answer is, why do you have so many gods? In fact, quite often, it's not just a question, but a criticism. And as Hindus, we often don't have the answer to this criticism because the concepts of monotheism, polytheism, and so on are actually alien to our culture. And if we want to answer this question, then we have to take a uniquely Sanatani and Bharatiya perspective in order to answer it. That is what we'll be doing in today's video. And if you enjoy this type of content, then make sure that you subscribe to our channel. This is a small step for you, but it's a big contribution in our seva, in our service to bring Hindu wisdom to everyone. Goswami Tulsidas ji says, और देवता चित्त न धरई हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा. One needn't pray to various deities. Hanumanji alone is capable of providing every satisfaction. One is freed of crises and all suffering who recalls Hanumanji and his strength and courage. When we hear Aur Devata Chitta na Dharahi, very limited translation of it is only Hanumanji has the power, no one else has. You know, this type of translation or this type of mistranslation is one of the challenges that we are looking to overcome. And to properly understand what is the meaning of this, we are going to have to go right at the heart of Hinduism and understand what is in the Vedas. Now, as you know, there are 4 Vedas: Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, Atharva Ved. What is in these Vedas? If we were to understand it at its highest level, there are 3 sections of the Vedas. The first one is Upasana Kanda, where there are various praises to various deities. The second one is Karma Kanda, where those praises are taken and put into methods of worship like Yaga, Yagya, Homa, Havana, and so on. And the third section is Gyan Kanda, which is the section of wisdom in the Vedas, where we understand the meaning behind the Upasana and Karma. And in Vedic society, all 3 aspects were given equal importance, where people undertook Upasana as well as Karma with an understanding of Upanishadic wisdom. That Upanishadic wisdom says there is one indivisible truth that manifests in various forms for our benefit. Unfortunately, over time, people only focused on the acts of worship and the benefits that various deities could give us. Who are these deities? These are the Vedic deities of Indra, who looked after the rains, Agni, who looked after fire, Yama, who looked after justice, Vayu, who looked after wind, and so on and so forth. So one can even consider these to be manifestation of natural divine forces. This act of simply worshipping the Devatas without understanding the deep philosophical meaning was first criticized by Bhagwan Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. Anything and everything that people ask, I am the one who gives it. And yet he says people are worshipping all of the other deities, seeing them as separate from this one truth. This very same principle is illustrated in the famous story of Bhagwan Shri Krishna's life, where as a young boy he asks his parents and he asks the villagers, why are they worshipping Indra when everything that they get is got from Govardhan Parvat? Indra, upon seeing that he is not going to be worshipped, rains down on this little village of Vrindavan, not for a few hours, not for one day, but for days and nights altogether. And in this situation, Bhagwan Shri Krishna raises Govardhan Parvat on his little finger until Indra realizes there is a higher power here at play. We too must understand that when we are undertaking pujas and havans, the point of it is not just to do the puja, but to use that as a conduit to connect to the higher divinity at play. When we say that there's a higher divinity, one question people ask is, in the Vedas there were Indra, there was Yama, there was Vayu, so why are we worshipping Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, etc.? The answer is in the Vedas itself. Bhagwan Vishnu, Bhagwan Shiva, Adi Parashakti, all of these deities are mentioned in detail in the Vedas. In addition to this, the Rig Veda says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. The truth is one, the wise call it by different names. And secondly, we need to understand the history and the reason why Bhagwan Shiva, Bhagwan Vishnu, Devi, Ganesha and so on are worshipped as the supreme truth. Almost 2000 years ago, there was a resurgence of philosophical thought that challenged the Vedas. And these systems of thought that we now know today as Buddhism, Jainism and so on gained great traction in the Indian subcontinent. At that time, about 1200 years ago, a great visionary came to serve Hinduism. In fact, he is one of the greatest Hindus to have ever been born. That great visionary is called Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya was born in a small village called Veliyanad in Kerala, grew up in Kaladi, again in Kerala, but travelled in his short lifetime of 32 years by foot across India. Why? To re-establish this Vedic doctrine that there is one truth that manifests differently based on our temperaments. Now, at the time that Adi Shankaracharya was travelling around India and re-establishing this doctrine, there was a system of worship where even as Hindus, people were worshipping their ancestors. People were worshipping primarily village deities. People were engaging with the divine only for their limited benefit without connecting it to a higher source. So Adi Shankaracharya established the Hindu system of theology that we know today as Shanmata, 6 forms of the divine that are gateways to access the highest truth. In fact, that are manifestations of the highest truth themselves. These 6 are Bhagwan Vishnu, Bhagwan Shiva, Adi Shakti, Ganapati, Skanda and Surya. And the followers of each of these doctrines became Vaishnavas, Shaivas, Shaktas, Ganapatyas, Kaumaras and Saurya. And almost every deity that we see in the vast diversity of the divine in Hinduism has some connection or the other to these 6. Now you may say, in Hanuman Chalisa it is written, Aur devata chittanadari Hanumata sehi sarva sukha kare. Why Hanumat? Well, because Hanumanji has a connection, a deep connection with all 6. Hanumanji is the greatest devotee of Bhagwan Sri Ram. So there's a direct connection to Vaishnava. Hanumanji is considered an avatar of Shiva himself. So there's a connection to Shiva. When Ma Durga rides out on her lion, in front of her, carrying her flag, is Hanumanji. You go to any Ganpati temple, you will find some or the other shrine for Hanumanji. Even in the famous Siddhivinayak temple in Mumbai, there is a separate dedicated shrine to Hanuman. Skanda is the great lord of war. Who is a greater warrior than Hanumanji? And Surya, we know that Bhagwan Surya was Hanumanji's guru himself. This episode of how Surya accepted Hanumanji as his disciple, we have covered in a previous video. It's in the links below. Go watch it. It's a beautiful story that teaches us how to connect to the highest truth. Unfortunately, as Hindus, sometimes we find ourselves getting into arguments. No, this deity is supreme. No, that deity is supreme. My deity is supreme. Your deity is not. I just want to ask one thing. If we are worshipping the divine, are we worshipping the divine to reduce our ego or to create a new spiritual ego? Because if we are doing it out of devotion, then our ego should go down. Not create a new ego that says, I am from this group and I follow this line and only this line is supreme. That egoless action is true bhakti. And this isn't my view. In chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan defines whom he sees as a bhakta. And it's a beautiful series of verses, the first of which says, Adveshta sarva bhutana maitrah karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankarah sarva dukkha sukakshami. The very first qualification that Bhagwan gives is Adveshta sarva bhutanam. One who has no dislike towards whom? Sarva bhutanam. Everyone around. So one who has no dislike towards anyone around is qualified as Bhagwan's devotee. So if we say that we are a bhakta, then we have to live up to these qualifications that have been given by Bhagavan. We cannot say I only have adveshta towards my group. We have to have adveshta sarva bhutanam. These beautiful messages connect the Hanuman Chalisa not just to the Bhagavad Gita, but to the entire system of Vedic thought that is our inheritance as Hindus. And now that Bhagavan Shri Ram has returned to Ayodhya, we need to stay united to ensure that Bhagavan stays in Ayodhya, and not just stays in Ayodhya, that the vast network of mandirs that we have across the country is strengthened. And in serving the Lord in this way, the Lord will protect us. This reminder comes in the next chaupai. Sankat kate mite sab peeda jo sumire Hanumat balbira. Now you might think this is a repetition, ye to humne suna hai. But it's not a repetition, it is a reminder that through any crisis, Bhagwan himself will save us as long as we are remembering him. And not just remembering him, not just remembering Hanuman, but remembering Hanuman Bala Bira. We have studied in previous videos the secret of Hanumanji's strength. We have studied the secret of Hanumanji's courage, Virya, Virta. What is it? His Brahmacharya. Go watch those videos. This is not to repeat what has been covered, but to remind ourselves that we are not just connected to a random text. We are connected to the essence of that text that cuts across all previous texts and goes right to the source of the Vedas itself. This service, if you are enjoying, then please share it with other people so that they too may benefit from the immense depth and wisdom of Hindu Shastra. If you enjoyed today's video, then do consider subscribing, and we've got a full range of videos on the Hanuman Chalisa. So do check out those playlists. And even if you do none of these, my one request to you is find a good recording of the Hanuman Chalisa and just start chanting. This brings a transformative impact into our lives that we don't even realize until we have started this sadhana. My name is Om Dhumatkar. Thank you so much for joining us on yet another video on the Hanuman Chalisa, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Namaste.